Well, good morning, everybody. You have tuned into Pacific Ocean Asia. I thought it fitting to revisit a subject. Sometimes, to put closure in my mind, I need to revisit something. One of the things that caused a lot of consternation on my last Pacific Ocean Asia channel is when I made a video linking violent behavior, public shootings, the Oregon shooter, saying, is there a link between that and an addiction or an obsession with role-playing violent video games? Grand Theft Auto, Mortal Kombat, and a host of whatever the new ones are that I don't keep track of that genre. I have no interest in that. When you consult media, it is very interesting. There's an article here. I got to figure out what the site is here, if it has anything on it. Tilt, T-Y-L-T. Do violent video games lead to violence in real life? After the 1999 Columbine shootings, the victim's family sued video game manufacturers, saying the teen gunmen were desensitized to violence by playing violent video games. Both the American Academy of Pediatrics and the American Psychological Association warn against violent media, as some studies show it can increase aggression in kids. But despite decades of research, science hasn't found an irrefutable link between violent video games and real-life cruelty. And of course, they've got a votes are in. Video games are toxic, 32% agree. Video games harm no one, 67% agree. Excuse me. The American Association of Pediatrics acknowledges real-life violence is tough to study. However, if you separate aggression, i.e. a snarling dog, from violence, a dog that bites, there is an example. There is ample evidence that violent media increases aggression in children. Summarizing the results of more than 400 studies, including violent media of all types, researchers found there was a significant association between exposure to media violence and aggressive behavior. A decade of research found that violent video games may make players more aggressive and less sensitive to human emotion and suffering, and may boost risk of committing violent crimes. Anne Marie Jackson, Wall Street OTC. Forbes says, for the millionth time, video games don't cause real-world violence. We're going to stop right there. I could read article after article on this stuff. First, when we're dealing with the media, everybody knows, especially in light of the last election of our current president, that most of the media is controlled by the liberal left. That Hollywood pumps out a heavy diet of gratuitous violent movies. Do you notice how the American media, our entertainment culture, and Hollywood never ever want to hold themselves accountable? That right there should have you questioning. Yet the same entities that I have just mentioned have pushed for global warming, even though there is no substantial scientific proof that we've actually created a hole in the ozone that is causing things to warm up because of all these emissions. There was a report by an Australian geologist years ago, a scientist, who reported on what comes out of a volcanic eruption. And basically, he said way more stuff comes out of that volcano than does the Industrial Revolution. My question is, if God created the earth with all these chemicals in it, carbon monoxide, dioxide, all these different things, how is it the man can manufacture something that destroys that up there? It doesn't make rational sense. The global warming agenda is simply that, an agenda. As I've stated before, the Go Green movement, you open your wallet, there goes your green. American money, for those of you outside the country, is green. Whenever the Go Green people get involved in anything, it's going to cost you more. Obama years ago, thank God he's out of office. The collateral damage of 8 years of him being in office is unbelievable. But under his administration, he wanted a methane tax for the cows and chickens that fart, pig farms, saying this pollutes the environment. The only name I'm going to mention is Andrew Drescher. It's not that I'm afraid to take on certain YouTube personalities. That's not the case. Many of you who are avid followers of me will know exactly who I was talking about. One channel that's still in existence, who still has videos posted about me, which are nothing more than mocking, arrogant, jerk mentality comments, recopying my videos on their channel and stopping, please don't sing, and just stupid comments. Very little substance of, okay, you made a point here. There's a couple. But by and large, it's just snipey, stupid. This gentleman came onto the scene when I had made a video under my last Pacific Ocean Asia, all one word, ID, on YouTube, saying, do violent video game addiction lead to criminal behavior? Mind you, I didn't read articles then. I made an opinion, and I stated as such. And I talked about the then Oregon shooting. And I find it interesting that the liberal left media, no, there's no link. Just like the liberal media tries to tell us that there's no link between an over-sexualized American culture and the pornography that's everywhere, including the checkout stand with cleavage all over the place. Cosmopolitan, L, people. Again, the tail wags the dog here. Hollywood culture is going to justify everything they do. It's entertainment. Come on. I have noticed in American culture that I've seen it in myself. We tend to be defensive. We tend to be cynical and bitey and snipey. How did all this come about? Well, for me, a lot of it had to do with I grew up trying to be nice to people, trying to treat people right, only to find out people were mean. Not just women, but men and women. Albeit, I grew up in a dysfunctional family. I think if most of us are honest, many of us did. I had some bad experiences with some women. I had some bad experiences with men. And I will never apologize for that. It's just what happened. On my channel, I launched a channel that was different. We don't hide behind glossy images and bells and whistles and, I often think it would be so cool to have a studio somewhere. And excuse me, I am recovering from this flu. It has left me with a very sore throat. And wow, the neck just hurts so bad. It's funny, when you have this, every muscle in your body goes into overdrive pain. We're going to focus on Andrew Drescher. Andrew Drescher was a.k.a. Legatus Lanius. Legatus Lanius was a character out of video games. You read the descriptions of these video games and the mentality of the characters, and they believe they were supreme deities and beings. And all you have to do is the person whose channel still stands with his few videos, the sinking of the Pacific Ocean liner, etc. By the way, I hate to bust your bubble, Mr. Sir, but you didn't sink me. You never sank me. Because of what was going on, I removed my channel and I exited stage right. Because one of the things that goes on in America that liberals, and I'm going to say this, based on the behavior of that person's channel, based on the behavior of Mr. Drescher, I would be shocked if they were both conservatives, Republicans, definitely not Christians. How do I base that? Wow, you got a lot of nerve there saying they're not Christians. I look at the content of what they did. I look at what they discuss, what he discussed on his channel, and what Andrew Drescher did. Andrew Drescher made death threats, multiple death threats, directly to me in my YouTube inbox. I reported those to Google over and over. Nothing was done. It took a gentleman from Eastern Washington to put together an entire portfolio and contact Google by the phone and spend a long time talking to a lady from Google about all that Mr. Drescher did. Mr. Drescher harassed, bullied, made threats, and he was addicted to this make-believe Legatus Lanius, this supreme evil being that can't be thwarted. He was living out vicariously through this character. And did he actually do violent acts to me? No. Did he condone it? 100%. With regard to the YouTube user and his channel, I read to you that they're less sensitive about other people's emotions and this and that. One of my gripes, because I know I'm different. Does Pacific have dysfunction? Does Pacific have issues? Absolutely. I am not a perfectly well-adjusted human being. I don't know many that are. There are times I look back and go, oh my gosh, I did that? Oof, that was bad. There's an arrogance in our culture. There's a cynicism in our culture. And there's a lack of sensitivity toward people that aren't just like you. In our culture, if you don't mainstream and you don't walk and talk and act the way other people do, you will be made fun of, you will be laughed at, and you will be put down. Well, that's just human nature, is it? Or if we had a culture that has been conducive to escalating this. Take traffic, for instance. How come people will not use their turn signals? I'd say 50% of the drivers will not use their blinker. They'll pull right into my lane, stop, and turn. And I've told you this. I honk. They look all the way around in their seat. Like, what? Oh, my gosh. You really can't educate stupid, can you? that in America there seems to be this huge disconnect between my actions, your actions, and the reactions of others to your actions. And then you look at everybody funny when you get a horn honk or somebody confronts you. American culture is one of the worst in the world about receiving criticism, myself included. My YouTube opponent included. He doesn't receive any criticism from me because he's arrogant, he's a jerk, and he doesn't like me. And he doesn't like me because I addressed an issue about people obsessed with video game addiction, and I said there's a link. I will never apologize for that. Now, according to all the psychologists and pediatrics, said obviously they saw an increased aggression in the children. But according to scientists, there was no verifiable link. I have one question for the violent video game supporters. How can anything good come out of blowing people away, blowing off heads arbitrarily? And what is wrong with you that you have to descend into that underworld where you're shooting all day long people? That, to me, tells me you have issues. Pacific doesn't spend his time doing that. I spend time sharing my heart. I spend time driving a bus. I spend time driving trucks. I spend time caretaking a property. I spend time getting involved socially out in my world. The rec centers. And what do these violent video game addicts contribute to society? Not much. That people who immerse themselves into this tend to be antisocial, rude. That this gentleman's channel is rude and arrogant goes without saying. He had it in for me simply because I made a link, in my opinion, about violent video games and criminal shooting, killing behavior. Honestly, no matter what the experts say, the realization that hit me in the last election is really, it has come down to this in America. The liberal dark cloud that covers America is huge. They've got the reins of our educational system. They've got the reins of our media, which includes the evening news, Hollywood, and entertainment. They're the ones that decide who is called a scientist. They're the ones that decide which president you had better vote for. They're the ones that decide which agenda they're going to push and have you believe. And we have millennials concerned with global warming, but millennials don't care about saying F-U-C-K-U to seniors, to parents. The dichotomy of this generation today is off the chain. They even had a liberal news program interviewing and talking about millennials, and a comment was made, these millennials are off the chain. This is what happens through decades of teaching children there is no God. This is what happens when Hollywood has more preeminence in our culture than the Sunday morning preacher. That most Americans care more about football, basketball, baseball, sports. What about the entertainers? Eminem, his latest song, very rude about Donald Trump. You stop and think about Eminem, and I'm going to criticize him. making money for his production of trash. Not one comment was made about how dysfunctional he is. He sings out of his anger, he sings out of his rage, and he makes millions of dollars for his rap crap. I do have a problem with that. Our society is upside down, topsy-turvy. That a troubled kid can make music, which the music in itself does not promote heart, passion, love, and sensitivity to others, but an in-your-face, violent, adrenaline-inducing culture. And our culture is addicted to adrenaline. I see it with men and women behind the wheel today. People are operating on emotion. Our car commercials, for a long time, have been showing rude and aggressive behavior advertising their vehicle of choice. Splashing pedestrians while you're in the quiet comfort of your car. The one commercial with the man going out to his car and some kid flicks or throws a snowball across the yard. I think it hits the guy's suit. Guy gets in his car, races all the way to the top of this mountain, packs a snowball, gets out, rolls it down the mountain. This thing becomes as big as a house. And this family's driving. And the snowball takes their car, pulverizes it, and carries it. So what is the message of this commercial? This little kid threw snow at me. I'm going to get revenge on the whole family in that car. I'm going to kill them. I'm going to take them out. Why aren't these car commercials held accountable for that? Because this is American culture. It would be nice if I was so thick-skinned I could say I don't care what this other YouTube channel thinks. I do care because I wish I could teach them and say, you know what? You yourself are messed up. You're insensitive, you're rude, you're mockatory, you're making fun of somebody just because they're not just like you. I don't care if you have 22,000 subscribers or 10 billion. One thing I learned a long time ago, popularity never is a good barometer of whether you are firing straight. Just because people like you and think you're cool, witty, and funny doesn't mean you actually are. Birds of a feather. My channel, I tend to be more cerebral. I try to deal with facts. And when I think something's an opinion, I state it boldly as such. According to the experts, there's no link. However, Sandy Hook Elementary, Connecticut, Congress revisited the violent video games again. The shooter that shot 20 people was addicted to video games. Columbine. Andrew Drescher. Threatening the residents of this home. No link? I believe that if I was to put this before a courtroom, the most intelligent people would say there's definitely a connection here, isn't there? What's even more disturbing is Andrew Drescher's in the United States military. He's supposed to be defending our Constitution. Our Constitution and our currency system that says, in God we trust. And he had a problem with my belief in the existence of God. He said it in a 2-hour phone call that I had with the clown. Not somebody who showed themselves, not somebody who posted their address, not somebody who put themselves on equal ground as Pacific. And then to make matters worse, Mr. 22,000 subscribers is going back and forth with him in the comments. Haha, I got your back. Just remember to promote me because I helped defend you, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, there you go. You made fun of me and mocked me in 5-6 videos, the sinking of the Pacific Ocean superliner. You didn't sink me, loser. You didn't. Number one. Number two, you're fraternizing with somebody who's making death threats against seniors and doing the cyberbullying and the stuff he did, and you didn't say one word about that. That right there tells me everything I need to know about you. That is not okay. We use that term with children. That is not okay. Make right choices. Make good choices. You all know who I'm talking about. Mr. Shark Submarine. You're an idiot. And I will go on record saying that. I don't care how successful your channel is. I'm not jealous of that. I don't care. Good for you. You might have some good content. I don't take my time to watch any of your stuff. I saw what you did. You don't have to like me. I don't care. But you're an idiot. You defended the behavior of a guy who harassed somebody. And then reading the comments later, Pacific has no right to be on YouTube. Says who? You clowns? Really? The internet is interesting because people can become a star even if there's nothing of content to what they're doing. Same goes for me. I could have 10 million followers and have absolutely nothing of significance. Pacific has paid attention to dynamics and demographics on videos. You have a cute girl with a halter top on, sleeveless shirt, beautiful arms, beautiful body, and she's doing this a lot. Boy, you got tons of views. You listen to what she says and you're like, okay, this is dumb. But everybody liked it. Well, because a whole bunch of men were going, porn. Everybody knows that if you're a good-looking girl on Facebook, you can have thousands of friends. Even though none of those people know her, she's made sure and posted 9,000 selfies of herself looking as sexy as can be. Of course everybody's going to be her friend. Things are not as they appear in our world today. And I don't care if you get the whole board of pediatrics department and the psychologists. I've already made my thunder loud and clear on psychologists in our society today. Psychology is devoid of God. And if you're going to start an argument with me, and you're going to attack me, you want to first of all try to tell me there's no God. I will just ignore you right from the start. Because you have no ground to stand on. Oh, listen to a circular reasoning. No, that's not circular reasoning. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Psychology is man's attempt at understanding something devoid of God. There's a verse in the Bible that covers it all. The heart is deceitful above all things and desperately wicked. Who can know it? That means a psychologist can't even know the human heart. As I've aged over the years, I'm shocked at some of the stuff that comes out of me. It's like, wow, I didn't know this. And the truth be told, people that are godless don't even realize the depth of their own depravity. So it doesn't matter if you have your following and your fan club. In the end, every one of us, including Pacific, and Andrew Drescher, and all the trolls, and all my fans, and the people I like, and the people I don't like, and the women I loved, and don't anymore, all going to stand before God. And God's going to analyze myself. Every word, every thought, every action. And I'm going to look my viewers in the eyes and say, mine aren't going to be pretty on review day. I see an arrogance in this age of cocky white males, and I'm addressing them. Most white males I know in American culture, the arrogant ones, have a gross inability to take criticism. I've talked about male culture. Male culture is as dysfunctional as it gets. Just as much as we talk about feminism, men in this culture are not very multidimensional. Men live for the macho, the braggadocio, the peacock strut, this guy's a retard, and all the silly little women go, oh, I like this guy, he's really good. Yeah, whatever. I've been around the block. I don't need to be ashamed of who I am. I'm ashamed of some of the choices I made over the years. Who isn't? So back to the question. Does obsession with violent video games and illegitimate behavior video games, stealing cars, knocking somebody out of it, my question is, why would you even play something like that? Okay, maybe you're not going to go out and blow the clerk away at a 7-Eleven. Maybe you're not going to do that. My question is, why do you like playing that kind of stuff? It desensitizes this, your conscience. This is all connected to the evolution. Survival of the fittest. No absolutes. So what if I steal somebody's car and knock them out of it? Just a video game. What part of retarded do you not understand? Why would you play that? Why would you find that entertaining? I've noticed a direct connection between people like that and a huge lack of sensitivity for values, morals, other people's property, other people's rights. An insensitivity when violent crimes are committed. When somebody's car does get stolen. Oh, that's too bad. I'm sorry, but a lot of men in American culture are arrogant, including the clown's channel. So what if he has a following? Britney Spears has a following. Michael Jackson had a following. Michael Jackson. I liked a lot of his music. I still do. Michael Jackson was sleeping with little boys in his bed. Collie McCulkin et al. Did you notice how society handled that? Did anybody pay attention to that? We're talking about fake news. We're talking about a culture that has allowed so much crazy stuff to go on, and if you're a star, you get a free pass. If Pacific were to have little boys sleeping in his bed, I could see the Denver Post. Area school bus driver charged with any inappropriate behavior with minor boys. And I promise you, a whole bunch of moms around here would be, oh my gosh! I didn't hear anybody raise even a whimper when Michael Jackson had boys sleeping in his bed in his Neverland Pinocchio mansion. Why? Because when the majority of people like somebody, who cares what they do? When they don't like you, when you're not popular, when you're not a star, death penalty. Kill him. Cut off his balls. That's a fact. So what about what a bunch of psychologists and pediatrics and a bunch of liberal media says about their own violent video games that they promote? I can say this, that I don't believe anybody who has a right understanding of the Bible, who's a God-fearing person, would ever produce or support the producing of violent video games. I don't believe that anybody who's a conservative and a Christian would support Hollywood and their violent movies. Though, when I first was converted to Christianity in 1985, I was appalled. My sensitive conscience. I had just become a Christian. And I was excited about that. And I get with other Christians. People born and raised in the church. People who sang on Sunday morning. Young ladies who had perfect angelic voices. And then they're all talking after, did you see that movie? Did you see that part? I'm like, wow, I saw that. That was violent. That was bad. Then I struggled. I'm like, why are Christians watching this stuff? Because our culture has a way of being a crowbar that gets under the floorboards and starts pulling those floorboards up. It does it. And it not only does it in America, that has taken off around the globe. We have exported feminism to China and India and countries around the globe. The tacky-looking, disgusting thing that American women have done to their hair, their bodies, the tattoos, gauges, piercings, dyeing their hair purple, pink, blue, green, fuchsia, and the crazy behavior of Western women is now being copied by Asians, Latinos, Latinas. American culture is massively impacting, but only on a downward way. We used to be the leaders in manufacturing, the leaders in education, the leaders as sending out missionaries to the uttermost parts of the earth to promote the gospel. We are no longer on any of those fronts. We are the leader today in the proliferation and production of pornography, drugs, and Hollywood smut, sleaze, violent culture. That Americans have so much time on their hands to consume hours and hours and endless hours addicted to San Andreas, Grand Theft Auto, and a host of violent video games, and don't even have a conscience that, really, why am I wasting my time on this? I see women at work playing Candy Crush. Harmless. Facebook used to have a game called Bejeweled. Why is there a need to steal cars and knock people out of them and then drive the car recklessly? People can say there isn't a link. Well, I can say this. Rock music, Hollywood, our liberal culture is aggressive inducing. I go to church on Sunday morning, and I've been very critical and very open about the crummy music that has invaded the churches in America. In our shallow, plasticated culture that doesn't like to get deep, they don't want to hear the hymns for a variety of reasons. I'm going to give you the main one. I'm going to tell you what somebody said in a chat room. No, it doesn't mean it's expert advice. Somebody said rock music is a drug for people who don't do drugs. I think there's truth to that. That even us men can be emotionally driven logic. That we've allowed music in our culture to so influence and affect us that we can't even see straight, but we think we're thinking normal because the bulk of the people around us think this way. You go into the church on Sunday morning and you've got electric guitars and you got 7-11 choruses. 11 words sung 7 times. Repeat, repeat, repeat. The music is grating. I realize that what I say, people say, well, that's just your opinion, Pacific. I don't care if you don't like my music. And his general attitude is you can't criticize art. Well, I'm sorry. I don't consider a lot of music art. In fact, to me, music isn't art. You either have music ability or you don't. We live in a cheap, sleazy era where people are fascinated more with the temporal passing away garbage culture than they are the stuff that stood the test of time. Obsessive addiction to violent video games, to me, is a sign of something wrong with each and every individual that plays them. That is my belief, and I will not retract or apologize for that. People get mad on my videos when I talked about you're supposed to go the speed limit. Most of the viewers that attacked me, I promise you, they're not good drivers. I'll bet money on the table. They think they're good drivers, but they don't define that by the standard. They define it by themselves. Speeding, running lights, rolling through stop signs, not using blinkers, that's not a good driver. I don't care if you've never had an accident. So many people can make that claim. That doesn't mean you're a good driver. It means you were just fortunate. God's grace extends even to the foolish. I've lived long enough to see that. There's times I'm like, how come there aren't more accidents? Because God exists. Yeah, sometimes God protects us more than even the fools realize from our own stupidity. The man's channel, whose paragraphical statement is to talk about what's wrong with the world, irregardless of how he feels about Pacific Ocean Superliner and thinks he's sunk me, he's godless. His wisdom, his insight is devoid of the truth giver. Of course, he's going to have a lot more subscribers than I any time of the day. Does it mean that I'm the stupid fool? In his eyes, of course, yes. But in my eyes, watching and paying attention to things, the closer you hit home the truth, they won't attack your message. They'll attack you. They can't attack truth. They have nothing intellectual to say. They'll put down your looks. They'll call you names. They'll make fun of even my quirks, nuances, because that's easy for them. They're cynical. They're dark. They're darkened in their understanding of truth. They're darkened in their understanding of God. And they're darkened. They think they know truth. Most people, and I've said this before, and people are going to get mad at me for this, you either belong to God or you belong to Satan. I'm not talking about people, oh, he worships the devil. I'm not talking about that. I remember when I was in the 80s and I had become a Christian, people were on a witch hunt or a devil hunt. Oh, this group's satanic. KISS, Knights in Satan's Service, AC/DC, Antichrist, Devil's Children, all the stuff that people said. I don't believe that any of those bands worshipped the devil. That may shock some of you. I believe that many of those bands did what was called shock rock. They want to make money. They want to be cool. And the sad thing is, these adults in these bands, instead of taking the high road, took the low road and worked and pulled on and manipulated Teen Rebellion and dragged them in. Anybody remember the video Twisted Sister? The old school dad comes into the son's room. What are you going to do with your life? And this kid's sitting there all appearing broken, and he gets up and says, I want to rock. Dad's blown out of the room. More disturbing than the possible did these groups slash off goats' head and crucify them and have satanic dances around campfires is what they really were promoting. Rebellion to parents, disrespect to the aged, disrespect that you who are sitting on your butt in your bedroom upstairs can talk rude to your dad who goes to work every day and pays for you to be a certified ASS. That's nice. Rock music is aggressive. Rock music is adrenaline inducing, and people get in their cars and pump up the music, and I can point to any style of music and say, this is how this person's going to drive their car. Pedal to the metal. Screw you. I've seen it in my own life. You got the rock music blasting, your adrenaline's going. You're not calm, you're not at peace. So what if people want to make fun of what I have to say? Truth is truth. And I believe this. And people who are intellectual, people who are in tune to God, will know that I'm not talking out of my reverse orifice. They'll know that I'm speaking the truth. The effect of our culture has been so permeating that even many of us as Christians haven't got to a point where we shed that and said, you know, I need to lose this reptilian skin that's overtaken me. Why do you think it says in the Bible, God says, I will take your heart of stone and give you a heart of flesh? What do you think that means? God says, when you're not saved, you're calloused, you're hardened. You make fun of everybody, you mock everybody. Satan, he mocks, he laughs, he ridicules. Jesus doesn't do that. Jesus points at the problem and says, this is what you are. He doesn't say, Pacific, you're ugly, you're a dork, you wear glasses, and you move your mouth, and you clear your throat. He doesn't do that. He says, you're a sinner. And I responded to that and became a Christian. So for those that want to attack me, let me start from the outset. If you're not a Christian, you're not going to understand my viewpoint and my worldview. I get that. Where do I base that on? 1 Corinthians. The natural man. The natural man does not comprehend the things of God. They are foolishness to him. It says it right there. You're a non-Christian, unsaved man. You're going to look at me and go, who's that retard? Because that's all you know how to do. When your eyes are opened by the Holy Spirit, I promise you, you'll be the first one coming back to my channel saying, you know, I was kind of a jerk to you. I know this. I've seen it happen. It's not that I'm perfect. It's not that I'm walk on water. That's never been what Pacific Ocean Asia's channel is all about. But shrink back. Where I did go wrong was make the mistake of going round and round with the fools out there. I did it over and over. And I look back at some of that stuff and go, you know, that's where I broke down. I gave them way too much power. Mr. Drescher et al. We had some sociopaths. People that got angry. They sent me their phone number, their address. One commented on my nipples because I did videos without a shirt. Note to self, no more videos with your shirt off. And he got mad because I didn't bring him into my inner circle. Something told me not to. He made comment after comment after comment and supported Andrew Drescher's malarkey. And I thought, you know what? I am really glad I didn't let this guy into my inner world. That is why I don't allow comments. That's why I won't email anybody. That's why I don't respond and will not respond. And as far as I have been able to, I've turned off any ability of people to get a hold of me. There's too many loose cannons out there. It's not that I'm hidden from view. Not at all. I want people to focus on the heart of what I'm saying. And if you don't like it, you're free to go. But harass and dog and threaten and cyberbully, that is proof that you have a problem. When you make video after video after video, mocking, making fun of me, clearing my throat, making fun of my face movement, and then stopping it and playing it and stopping it and playing it, you're an idiot. I don't even do that with yours, even if I had the technology or the format. I have no interest in that. I don't dog your channel. I don't leave comments on your channel because I'm not interested in your channel. I don't care. There are those few channels I'm interested in. There are people on YouTube that are far more eloquent, polished, smoother. They got bells and whistles. They got a format approach that even I go, dang, that's a nice format. I'm sitting in a storage room, or my bedroom, or in a garage, or in my truck. I don't have the PowerPoint presentation or the shoo-ping and all the noises and the little funny comments that appear and ha-ha and the chipmunks. I don't have all that. Because I feel that there's a lack in this generation. People are entertained. My videos are not here to entertain. I want my videos to be a knife straight to the heart. Ooh. That's truth. I never thought of that. If I'm entertaining you, I failed. Our whole culture's been entertaining and entertained. And we're suffering as a result of that. Yes, I know my hair is a royal disaster. It's my day off. I can do that. I don't need to compare myself to the YouTube artists or anybody who may look better than me or present better than me or have the bells and whistles. So what? Pacific is interested in reaching people. People that are human. Real humans with a heart of flesh. And if there are people on my channel that have a heart of stone, I pray that God would crack that heart of stone and give them feelings again. I am very honest about if something's my opinion. No, I cannot make a rock-solid proof that violent video games cause a shooter to go out and blow up a school like in Florida the other day. But I can say this, it doesn't lend itself well to somebody when they're playing all this and then this happens. I find it interesting that people smarter and wiser than me have brought this before the Congress. We need to do something about these. The Sandy Hook kid, violent video game addiction. And of course, the liberal media, the liberal entertainment industry, and the liberal video game industry that's all about gun control has no problem with producing and marketing and profiting by the billions of dollars violent stuff. What part of hypocrisy do you, the viewer, not understand about this industry? Has anybody read Animal Farm? Has anybody read George Orwell's books? 1984? You know how many people spend time watching the Oscars? And not to be outdone, the Christians now have their Dove Awards. Why? For the love of God, is Christianity one step behind secular culture trying so hard to be just like them? The Bible says, come out from them and be separate. Touch no unclean thing. That's not in the Old Testament, that's in the New. And here's the kick. All of us have touched unclean. We live in it, we bathe in it, we watch it, we laugh at it, we entertain by it. But it's got to the point now we're reading the Bible, singing old hymns. Well, that's boring. But if you can pull up a good rock band on Sunday morning, it makes me go, yeah. Yeah, see? We've been hooked on our emotions, and we're dragged away from the intellectual, the cerebral. And YouTube and forums have become nothing more than cynicism and slicing and dicing people for their looks and the way they say this and that. No intellectual, substantial truth content. But a butthurt individual who started his whole campaign because I dared to make an opinionated statement that video games could definitely be responsible for people turning around and shooting people in real life. Why would that seem to be such a stretch? You're the one who's dumb. Why is it that Americans seem to think that everything's compartmental? Me playing violent video games has nothing to do with anything. Even the police departments in the United States have found a direct link to obsession with porn and rape. Ouch. Nobody saw the sides of Mr. Cruz in the Florida shooting. He posted pictures of his guns and everything else on Facebook. Facebook never shut his account down. By the way, I read this in the book Adios America, Ann Coulter. It's about illegal immigration and how it's destroying our country and how much it's costing us. She made a statement in there from direct quotes, and she's got every single thing footnoted in the back of the book. Mark Zuckerberg supports amnesty for the illegals. Since when do we allow a guy who made a bunch of cyber fluff, who makes billions of dollars off cyber fluff, to determine and dictate our policy? Why is it okay for people to come over here illegally and we're going to go ahead and reward them by that? Jeb Bush and others wanted to give them driver's licenses, voting rights. And the more I start reading about this, I'm going to make a statement as bold as I can. I don't care how popular you are on YouTube. If you don't see what is going on in America and you don't see what has happened in our generation and how corrupt even many conservatives and Republicans and the church is, and you're blind. Our country is deliberately trying to make us a banana republic. Our country is applauding the lawless. For the people that got behind Mr. Drescher and his behavior is actually illegal. Harassment, threatening, especially in light of the fact he was in military duty. He wasn't going after ISIS. He wasn't going after terrorists in the Middle East. He's attacking an American citizen called Pacific. Isn't that nice? So when I see the idiot in his SUV pull out in front of me on a side street, right in front of me, when I have no stop sign, and I hit the brakes and I hit the horn and I get this and I see support our troops on the back, I go, yeah, When I see the disabled vet or the Purple Heart license plate and they move into my lane with no turn signal and they stop and I honk, and they're going like this, no, I don't support you, and I don't care about your service to this country. You can't even behave yourself. To me as an American in civilian life, I have no respect for you. I don't support all of our troops. I said it. Some of our troops are terrible human beings. Some of our troops have ulterior motives for being in military service. Some of them are disturbed. They want to learn how to shoot. They want to learn how to do things so that they can later go in and steal a tank and run over stuff. I support America. But I don't support a lot of things that America's been dishing out. I don't support a guy's YouTube channel that takes unnecessary and undue time for all the crap he said about me. If I'm such a loser, you spent 6 videos being a retard in all your comments? You're an idiot. You're more popular to me. Why haven't you taken those down? Why did you even waste your time with a loser? Because shoot the messenger. Does anybody remember what happened to the prophet Jeremiah in the Old Testament? The Jews got angry. Man, shut this guy up. They threw him down a well. He was doing what God told him, and the Jews said, man, we're tired of listening to this. Dropped him. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure this out. The world is blind. They're always going to condone and justify what they do. Human nature is such that we're going to blame. Eve blamed the serpent. Adam blamed the woman. It's been that way ever since. But when you're dealing with people who aren't Christians especially, there's nothing wrong with what I do. What is your problem? Making an argument against Pacific for having an opinion that violent video games lead to violent behavior and laughing at me for it, when the same person is over here backslapping Andrew Drescher, you're dumb. His behavior towards me was violent in the threats, the graphic things he wanted to do to me. And in your stupid mind, that's okay, because Pacific is a retard. Even if I am a retard, retards have rights in the United States. I hate to tell you that. You're a certifiable, arrogant idiot. And I know you'll have fun with that one. I try to stand on truth. I focused a lot on women because what I say about women is true. At one point in the video, he attacks me for saying, he says women are selfish, all people are selfish. Well, yes, that's true. But I have made some valid arguments in traffic. Who lets me in when I'm merging on the freeway? Who lets me in when my lane is ending? I look at life, and I look at stats, and I look at actual experiences. More men are likely to hold the door open for me than females. More men are likely to let my bus or my pickup into a lane of traffic that's ending than women. 20 women will keep driving and blocking, and they'll stop because the traffic stops, and they stop. They see my signal, but they sped up, and they stopped. Women tend to be more selfish than males is a fact. You got butthurt because I addressed a video game addiction. I look at your behavior on your channel. I look at your behavior with backslapping Andrew Drescher, and it gives me all the proof I need that everything I said was true. People who are addicted to violent video games have some problems. I don't care how cool you are, how much booze you drank, how many chicks think you're suave, how cool your channel is. There's something wrong with you. I don't care what your comeback is. I won't waste my time. But I had to address this. This crap stood for years. And yes, I shut down my channel. For reasons I will not get into because of spooky people out there. But Pacific is back. And Pacific is not going to change his tune. What I am going to do is learn from the past. And what I'm going to do is try to become more hard-hitting in what I say. Pacific in the last few years has grown very aware of how even my upbringing, my culture, my environment, and just myself, how off the beam I or any of us can get. Pacific is not perfect. Pacific sins. Pacific says things he shouldn't. Pacific does things he shouldn't. Pacific watches things he shouldn't. Listens to things, laughs at things he shouldn't. That's part of the Christian walk. You have to immerse yourself in the truth enough to spot and recognize the dysfunction of our culture and start saying, whoa, it's not that I'm being self-righteous or holier now, but I need to kind of stop. When the guys are standing around telling dirty jokes and you say, hey, guys, no offense, but I'm out of here. I'm not going to listen to this. When the guy shows me the nudie picture, hey, that's porn, dude. You know, I'm trying to clean up my thought life. Don't show that to me anymore, please. Yeah, we need to do that. We need to do that. But the cynicism and the satire and the rudeness in our culture is not befitting of God. It is not acceptable. And I can say that if you look at Hollywood culture and video gaming culture and the whole general liberal culture today, it is trashy. And it is taking us down into a sleazy mentality in how we deal with one another, how we view people, how we view ourselves, that there seems to be an exaltation of every individual in America that I'm so great because I bought a Lexus, or I have this much money, or I got this degree, or I have a YouTube channel with 50 million viewers. We get puffed up for various reasons. What I'm saying is even if Pacific had 10 million subscribers, doesn't mean that I'm doing walking, talking right. In fact, on the contrary, it probably means I'm at the furthest junction point away from God and walking his way that I could be. In other words, those that have the most popularity are probably the furthest from God. Let them be puffed in their little minds. This is YouTube. I'm only going to reach certain people, not everybody. I'm not going to reach the Andrew Dreschers. I'm not going to reach the plethora of trolls. The trolls live for that rude, snotty, snide behavior because they are darkness. They're lost souls. They're unhappy. And the way they get happiness is putting down, mocking, and attacking people, not with intellectual content, but with juvenile, bullying, harassing tactics. That is telling. Yes, Pacific isn't always perfectly non-dysfunctional. But when I see the stuff that people do, I go, my gosh, I'm doing better than they are. Because I don't run around doing that. I don't get on people's channels and leave smitey comments. I just don't do that. If I don't like it, I don't go to the channel again. I don't even thumbs down it. It's like, whatever. Violent video games are not good, no matter what you say. And if any of you, my viewers, like what I say and agree with a lot of what I say and you have a problem with this, I'm sorry. This is my opinion. I don't hate you because you play this stuff. I'm just airing my opinion. I'm basing this off experiences with people. I went to Mammoth High School and I knew a bunch of kids that were involved in DMLA. And I'm going to say it boldly, they were weird. Dungeons and Dragons, correction. They were strange. They scared people. They were role-playing in a dark underworld, and every one of us thought, somebody's going to do something. It's going to be those guys at that table over there. Why are American men, who way back when you had the Lewis and Clarks, you had people trying to find the Northwest Passage, real man, Shackleton, now we've got these armchair joystick controllers that think they're men playing a computer game that somebody else made, thinking they're conquering the universe. I'm Legatus. Really? That's what men in our society have become. They're macho because they bought a Toyota Sequoia and they drive like an idiot. Men today don't know their place. They don't know what the true definition of manhood is, and I will say that. Laugh all you want. We've been dumbed down, watered down, wussified down, and if all you can do is sit there and play a steal other people's car game, you have a problem. There's no other word for it. You might want to get some counseling, not from a psych, but somebody who speaks the truth. Why do you feel the need to play this? Why do you feel the need to play a game where you're vicariously stealing other people's cars, shooting them, running them over? Why? What is going on inside of this? I don't need to defend my view, but I've made a very damn valid argument in this video. I've given you the proof of Mr. Hoochie's channel, that's not his real name, and Mr. Drescher. Both of them. Did Mr. Hoochie, after he made fun of me, he makes all these comments on the video games and the organ shooter. Oh, what a moron. Did you bother to bring up the Senate and the Congress and teachers and other officials going before the Sandy Hook, Connecticut elementary school shooting, how they besieged Congress to put a moratorium on these violent video games? Did you talk about that? Did you make fun of them? Of course not. You're an idiot. Oh, you call yourself a Christian. You're an idiot. You're a fool. Yes, I said that. No apologies. When people see their sons and daughters blown up at the hand of a gunman and they find out he was addicted to violent video games, why wouldn't they make a connection? What part of stupid do you not understand? You drinking too much Coors Light? Give me a break. I don't need to apologize to some of these clowns on YouTube. It's called YouTube because anybody can get on there and be you. I've already lived with an ever-increasing awareness that I am not the cat's meow in most of our culture. I get that. I don't care about that. I don't want to be the cat's meow in our culture. Pacific has narrowed it down. Most Americans are focused on everything but what they should be. I listen to conversations, and it's always the same old muffin tin. Each little countersunk compartment, muffin, 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 muffin. That's our culture. Oh, did you buy that new SUV? Oh, did you get a new dog? Oh, did you try that new latte? It always comes back to those three. Oh, did you hear about that new global warming thing? Oh, these conservatives are so retarded. They just don't believe in global warming. And you go to Sprouts and the clerk, who's rude to me, lifts up her arm and hasn't shaved, and she's looking at me with a steely-eyed glare. And I'm like, what did I do? I just come in here to buy stuff. I said, hello. Oh, I'm a white man. That's right. You know what? But I also got out there and I went to Sprouts 2 weeks ago. Picked up some food stuff there, groceries. And I made a comment to somebody. I want to buy a house, but there's so many people moving here, it's driven up the cost of real estate. And a woman that I never would have guessed, Because I'm guilty. There are times I make assumptions. Oh my gosh, I am guilty as charged. I tend to think that everybody that goes to Sprouts and Whole Foods and natural grocers are all liberals, designer food stores. And most of them are. But there's a lot of conservatives that care about their health too. And this lady starts talking to me. She goes, I was born and raised here. And she goes, this city has become so rude. I was like, whoa, you're speaking my language. I said, you know what? It's funny, but I moved here and I wasn't born and raised here. And I have felt that this is one of the ruder cities I've lived in. She goes, it's sad. If you had lived here before, it wasn't like that. I said, they're rude on the roads. They're rude in public. I said, it's like people get up in your face and try to start something with you here. This woman was much older than me, and she goes, yes, I see that. Now, I don't know if she was conservative or Democrat. At that point, it didn't matter. We had a touchstone. And then the clerk at Sprouts. Yeah. I don't feel any connection here at all. This place has turned awful. People are mean. People are rude. Pacific learned something that day. Just keep being who you are, Pacific. You'll connect. You'll connect with those few individuals out there that have their eyes open. Hagbard Celine? Who is he? Nosy Balassi. I mentioned his name. That's who I was talking about. I didn't give him a reasonable response then, so now I will. Who cares what he thinks? If he has a relationship with God, and he actually starts from the foundation of truth, and he wants to stop attacking my looks and making retard remarks, and moron and name-calling, then we might have something to discuss. He got on my channel several times in the past, inviting me to his podcast. Why in the heck would I get on your podcast, where you control the whole thing? And you can be just cutting and rude and demeaning because your audience base likes that kind of crapola. And that's what it is. Now, I'm not saying, Mr. Celine, that you don't have anything intelligent to say on your videos. I actually tuned into one of your things and said, oh, that's interesting. But I don't want to listen to you because you didn't earn my respect. And obviously I didn't earn yours. Sorry for that. But I just felt it was time to rebuttal your BS. Because that really, with regards to Pacific, that's what it was. By the way, congratulations on growing your channel. Nice job. Congratulations on getting 22,000 subscribers. That's impressive. I give you a thumbs up for that. But I don't agree with you on everything. I don't agree with the way you handled me. If I was such a retard loser, making fun of everything, you spent 6 videos plus. You glad-handed Mr. Andrew Drescher and his bullying, hateful, threatening behavior that also brought danger to 2 senior citizens in this house. You should be ashamed of yourself. And don't come back with your video saying, I didn't, whatever. You in your comments thought that he was just cool for dogging me the way he dogged me. And then if that wasn't enough, he then turned on Maharani. And I'm not defending Maharani. Maharani's actions were reprehensible as well. You want to defend women and you attack me saying I have issues with women. You didn't spend one video attacking Andrew Drescher, who then went after Maharani, harassing a Filipina young, naive woman. You see, your actions and your behavior on the internet at that time was a joke. No, Pacific has come back fighting, and Pacific has come back bolder and stronger. You saw my picture, bigger, better, to the future, 2018. I'm here. I make no apologies for it. And if you want to compare your looks and your ways to my ways, you go ahead. But, sorry, I couldn't keep quiet. Your videos stood there when they should have been removed. If I was such a loser, you should have posted what you posted and then took them down. You kept them there. And even after I was gone from the scene, years later, or a year later, you were still firing your mouth. And I'm like, man, this guy really has issues. And I figured out what it was. You didn't like some of the things I said because it was a knife to your own heart. That is not my problem. That's yours. Nothing you said has been a knife to my heart. It was annoying because it was just stupid. More of that arrogant crap. I hate arrogance. I hate it. Is Pacific guilty of being arrogant? I'd like to believe not so. Defensive? Yeah. Violent video games. People should analyze themselves and ask, why do they feel the need to play these things? There is no productivity to that whatsoever. In the 1980s, when they came out with the stand-up arcade video games, Pac-Man, Centipede, Tempest, Galaga, Missile Command, Frogger, I was an addict. But we were shooting at starships and asteroids, and I did it hard for 2 years. I've probably spent $2,000 in quarters at Supercade in Mammoth. It is no longer in existence. I never got into the violent stuff where you actually had a person you're looking at and shooting their head off. To me, it just... why? Froggy was cute. You jumped across the freeway avoiding cars, buses, vans, and trucks. That was cool. Donkey Kong, jumping over barrels. They seemed benign back then. And America has an obsession. And I've said this and I will say it again. As our culture continues to slide down the toilet bowl, the next thing that people will look for, the only thing that will move them, is watching people get torn up. Rome headed that way with the Colosseum, and America is no exception. People drive aggressive, they act aggressive, their music's aggressive, their viewing habits are aggressive, the movies are aggressive. Listen to the music in the movies. I go to people's houses that play the TV continuously, and you listen to the music of some of these movies. I mean, how in the world can that make you restful? It is intense. It is adrenaline. It's jarring. The older I get, and I'm a hyper guy. I am extremely high energy. And over the years, Pacific has taken stock and realized that even Michael, if I want peace in my life, I got to start getting rid of those things that just cause me to be clenched. I don't like violence. I don't like violent video games. I don't like people threatening other people. Pacific was bullied most of his childhood years. It never felt good. I was small. I wasn't a fighter. And our culture hasn't shifted from that very much. I see it on the buses. And God has put me right where I need to be. The minute I spot on a bus, I stop, I stand up and said, that is not acceptable. Leave that kid alone now. Move up to the front. Don't you ever talk that way to him again. I shut it down. The best person to be involved with kids is one who went through that stuff, and I can be an advocate for the underdog and the handicapped. Mr. Salim, this bud's for you. I was at the rec center the other day. And there's a 35-year-old girl who has Down syndrome. You can tell by looking at her that I'm going to use the term people would say, oh, she's retarded. I spoke to her one day. She says, will you swim with me? She swims along my side, I swim. Two roly-poly kids, a white and a black kid, were sitting on the edge of the pool making a comment. I had my China medallion necklace on. And I heard the comments. Oh, I got a bling necklace too. I got a bling necklace too, dog. And I ignored it and I swam. Then I heard the white kid say, look at that girl. Isn't that sad? Look at her. Isn't that sad? I stopped. I swam right over to him. I said, you need to stop right now. What? I said, that is my friend. I heard what you're saying. Stop. And he started to, and his own black friend said, shut up, man. I don't want to get in trouble. And I said, and I will. I will go to the lifeguard and I'll report you for making rude comments to this woman. And I'll get you thrown out of here right now. I'm sorry, man. Okay. No more. Close your mouth. Now, I'm sure that I'll get flack for that. Wow, you had no right to do it. I had every right. I believe in personal activism. You defend the underdog. So what if she's handicapped? And a Pacific is retarded and he's this and that? Why do you go on making fun, making fun, making fun? The older I get, defending the cool people is not going to get you any points with God. Defending the underdogs, the ones that really don't have anything going for them, is who we should be defending. Bullying, threatening Pacific. A guy who doesn't beat up anybody. A guy who doesn't slash tires, get revenge. A guy who doesn't go out and make people's lives miserable. And we got people threatening me because I was vocal on YouTube. Vocal in what way? Making threats? Threatening to blow up buildings? Threatening to blow up government agencies? No. You have to wonder about people that make threats and mock and laugh. I am different than you, because if I don't like your channel, I don't keep going back and watching your tripe. It's simple as that. I don't focus on it. I do focus on people that attack me. You darn right I do. And I'm guilty, as a friend of mine said, you're guilty of trying to educate and teach these people. You cannot educate and teach a fool, Pacific. You're smarter than that. I like your channel, but you're playing into these idiots' hands. They get off on this stuff because there's something wrong with them. I've said it, and that's where I stand. I don't want a video response from you. I won't watch it. Unless it was, I'm sorry. You made a point. I got you. I'm done attacking. Cool! Maybe then I'll look at some of your other videos and say, hey, you got some good stuff here. Till then, you go your way, I go mine. Simple. But I will never feel bad for my stance on the violent video game addiction. That in America we've become so dumbed down that people seem to think that, oh, I can do all these horrible things. I can play this and consume my waking hours with this, and it has no adverse effect on me. TV has always done this. Remember Lucille Ball? Lucille Ball and Ricky Ricardo slept in separate beds on the filming of the Lucille Ball show. Then, later years, they're in the same bed. Then, we had shows showing two people with clothes off. Now you go to the movies, you can see full frontal nudity and complete gratuitous sex. And Hollywood wants us to believe that that has no effect on us. Let me tell you something, folks. I'm a man. When you're married to a woman and you've been married to her for a while and you start watching these scenes on the movies and you see the hot white woman with the big stuff and she's naked in front of you, glistening, coming out of the shower with wet hair, you can say whatever you want. You start looking at your wife and you start looking at her on the screen and you go, wow, mine doesn't look like that. When you keep playing violent video games, you get a bloodlust and you start getting an appetite for aggressive, mean and rude and lawless behavior. And though you may not go out and be a Columbine shooter, you are paving the way. You are making an opening avenue for it to be less resistant for you to cross that line. I rest my case, and I feel much better that I have vented my spleen on this issue. You heard it first, Pacific Ocean.